Well, all right, guys, today we're going to be making a cutting board using this walnut that I got from Robin at the Dancing Goats on Instagram. He sent this to me a while ago, and I've been kind of holding on to it, waiting for a good project. And I thought, I think it'd be pretty cool to do kind of a hybrid cutting board type thing. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So as you can see, I got my mold box ready. I got this wood, like I said, I got it from Robin. Thank you, Robin, for sending this in. I've been kind of waiting for a cool project, and I thought that'd be cool to make a cutting board. So I've made this mold out of melamine. It's 1/2-inch melamine. I have a video that kind of shows you how I make melamine molds, so I'll have a link to that on the screen here and down in the show notes if you want to see that, how to kind of construct this. But basically just kind of screwed it together. And then what I did was I lined it with Tyvek tape. I see a lot of the resin river table people doing that. And what it does is it just gives you another layer of, when you demold it, you know, it's not going to stick to the melamine. So just kind of adds a little bit of help. So hopefully the demolding will go real smooth. Now, before we begin, I just want to answer a question that I'm sure I'm going to get. Am I using an FDA compliant or a food safe resin for this project? And the answer is no, I'm not. I'm using liquid diamonds, which to my knowledge doesn't have any FDA certification for it for food contact. So it's going to be a decorative piece only. And this is kind of the stance that I've taken in the past on everything. I don't make things that are going to come into contact with food. I just call them a decorative piece. So that I don't have to worry about it. I've done minimal research. I've done a little bit. I haven't done extensive research into this subject, but what I have found is kind of confusing and ambiguous. It's not cut and dry what food safe actually means. There's a couple different certifications, different types of food contact, and it's just kind of confusing, and I just kind of threw my hands up and said, fine, I'm not doing it. Now, having said that, one thing that I could do with this piece is make the piece out of, whatever resin I want with whatever materials, and then come back and put a coating on top that is food safe. Find a resin. Now, like I said, I don't know of a resin that I feel 100% comfortable, that I know 100% is safe for, any kind of food contact. So, haven't found that yet. But if I want to come back and do it, I can find something, coat it, and it's going to be the same, result basically. One thing I also want to mention is, a lot of people think that, just because it says food safe, that it's going to work for the application that you're using. I would recommend, whatever type of project, if you're going to make something with resin and it's going to come into food contact, definitely, do your research, but also contact the manufacturer and ask them, explain exactly what you're doing and ask them if it's safe, for this purpose. One other thing that people don't really realize is the resin may be food safe, but a lot of the dyes and colorants and additives and things that they might put in there for effects are not necessarily food safe. So there's a lot of gray area with this, and my stance is I just stay away from it because I don't need to make things that come into contact with food anyway. So my pieces are decorative. But like I said, there is always the option down the road, if I find something that I'm 100% sure it's going to be food safe, I can come back and coat the piece with that resin and we'll be good to go. So I just wanted to kind of clear the air on that before everybody asks questions. And so let's get on to making this cutting board. All right, I got my resin mixed up and I thought that it might be kind of fun to add some effects. So I got me some Plum Crazy from Caster's Choice. We're gonna dump off a little bit of resin into this cup and add some of that powder. And then we're also gonna add a little bit of colorshift powder, just because I love messing with that stuff. All right, guys, it's all cured, ready to demold. Really cool effects going on in there, so I can't wait to get this thing out of the mold box and see what we got. Well, all right, it turned out pretty good. I'm excited about this thing. We got a lot of cleanup to do, and I'm going to do that all in another video. Getting everything cleaned up and getting this thing prepped and finalized, basically. We're going to leave that for another video. I think there's more than enough content to fill a whole video with that, so didn't want this one to go too long. Had a really good time making this. You can really just go nuts with the effects. I maybe went a little bit too overboard, but it's kind of fun just seeing what happens. You maybe have something in your head, maybe you didn't hit it, maybe you did, but it's fun to see how things actually turn out with what you did. And then you can always, tweak it on the next time or try something different. So I think that the color shift powders are kind of peeking through a lot of the little kind of wavy, wispy pearls that we put in there. So like I said, lots of cleanup and stuff to do. We're going to have to, clean up all the edges. I'm going to run this through the bandsaw to get rid of the excess wood chunks that are kind of sticking out up on the top. The bottom's pretty gnarly. That's, I hot glued the pieces down. The resin kind of seeped underneath. There's a few air bubbles. We didn't seal the bottom of the wood, so I'm not really surprised that there's some kind of air bubbles and stuff. But we're going to take all of that off. I'm going to run it through my drum sander to do that. I think that's kind of the best choice of tools. I think you can use a planer, but you can run into things like snipe and all kinds of different stuff. So if you have a drum sander, that's definitely the best way to go. So we'll get this thing cleaned up and see how this thing turns out in the next video. So if this is your first time on my channel, we do all kinds of resin casting projects, tips and tricks, and experiments around here, kind of like this one. So if you're interested in that, definitely hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you get notified when new videos get posted. And if you're thinking about getting into resin casting but you're not really sure where to begin, check out my ebook, The Beginner's Guide to Resin Casting. It answers all those beginners' questions, like what kind of resin should I use? What tools and supplies do I need? How does it all work? It'll get you over that initial learning curve so you can get in the shop and start making some projects and having fun with resin. So you can check that out on my website if you're interested. So until next time, guys, we'll see how this cutting board turns out. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.